Darkmech here, and big news, huge news. We got into the Dragonflight Eternal Alpha test, and in today's video, I'm going to give you my first impressions, all my thoughts around everything that I experienced, and I cannot wait to share this with you. So we're going to kick things off and we're going to talk about the zone we got to play through. So the zone we got to play through was the Azure span. Now this is intended to be one of the later zones in the final product of Dragonflight, but it was our starting zone for the internal alpha test today. Now straight off the bat, I got an immediate Grizzly Hills kind of vibe from this zone. Honestly, it was not what I had expected at all. But as you progress through the zone, it has all of these different seasoned environments and elements that start to bleed into one another and separate into what feels like completely separate zones. I had a huge Wrath of the Lich King flashback with forests flowing into ice seas, the Nexus area which plays a huge part in this with the blue Dragonflight, and this is what this area is centered around a massive way in the story. It's a gorgeous zone that has so much packed into it, flowing rivers, lush forests, crumbling towers, autumn leaves, magical decay across the land, ice and snow mountains, fire, fog. It has that mystic feeling of a land that has been soaked in magical energy, and it is just gorgeous. There are some really cool mobs featured throughout the zone. There's some reskin of the rock mobs that we had in BFA, and they've been turned into arcane monsters. There's new mobs and these frost toads that have an AoE leap, which is crazy. These gnolls that have an AoE fear around them. Corrupted trees, mountain shapers, elemental punishers. There seems like they've put a lot more detail into these open world mobs and giving them a much more modern styled combat toolkit, which is really cool. The Tusker are here straight off the bat and they're involved in the main storyline, and I'm sure that will make somebody happy. A standout for me in this zone though is Valthros, and I don't know if I'm saying that right, but either do you, and that's the beauty of this. This is an awesome looking area. It is an amazing forge of fire, ice and arcane magic that has just been smooshed together. It is also where the penultimate battle in this zone's quest chain climaxes, and it looks spectacular. I feel I should also mention the time changes in this zone from morning sunrise to sunset. The colors change over the zone and it looks amazing. Another thing worth noting as well, as it's generally inevitable on any adventure we set out on, is being dead. But being dead in Dragonflight is actually really cool. You get to hop on a dragon and ride your way back to your body in spirit form. I thought this was a really nice touch to add in. Moving on to the quest side of the experience now. Now the main theme of the zone is assisting Caligos and the Kirin Tor, who have come searching for aid in reclaiming the Azure Oath Stone. So pretty stock standard quest styles, collect 4 of these, kill 6 of these. There are a few vehicle type quests, but nothing felt horrible, bogged down or confusing. I was able to move through the quests at a fairly smooth pace, and they were all straightforward in what they were requiring you to do. From the main story chain and a few side quests I did, I was able to hit level 67 with some change, and the template that we started in the zone was level 65, so 2 and a bit levels from the zone. Khadgar is back, and I loved this. Khadgar is such an amazing character. He's lore rich. What you can write with him and do with him, it is absolutely a win to see him back in the game. Hermit Nessingwary is back in the house, retired but still pumping. I didn't bother chasing off down his side quest trail, but I would only assume that hunting season is upon us once again. Bonus quests are present, and I've always liked these, so I'm happy to see these across the map. So are rare, like we've got in Zereth Mortis. I managed to get a quick glimpse when I flew into one of the zones that you get kicked out of, the Honorharm Plains, so I'm happy to see these returning in Dragonflight as well. More open world content getting people out into the world. It's always a good thing. Quest hubs felt really good. Things flowed well across the zone as you progress with the main story and side quests, so really no complaints there. I managed to complete the main story, and all in all, it was a good questing experience. I will be honest though, and I will say that it didn't feel as thematically captivating as Shadowlands leveling did. Though not having cinematics in place will play a huge part in that, so that could absolutely change, and I'm aware when I'm saying that that's a factor that could very well sway things. Questing though, for the most part of the zone, felt fairly generic. However, I will give credit that towards the end of the zone's quest chain, it certainly picked up and delivered exactly what I'd been hoping for in a magically themed expansion around dragons, and I got a really cool ending to that zone, so I am absolutely happy with that and give credit where it's due. Alright, dragon riding. This is a big one. Dragon riding is a prominent feature in the zones in Dragonflight. Your ability to dragon ride is dependent on your resource bar known as Vigor. Now, your Vigor bar will refill or recharge whilst you're grounded or flying at giga speeds. You spend Vigor by using dragon riding abilities. Now, straight up, when dragon riding was announced, I didn't really care. I was like, cool beans. But I will say that I am now a dragon riding fan after actually playing with it. Who would have thought? So, when you start off in Dragonflight, you'll earn different drakes capable of dragon riding throughout the zones when you start. You'll also learn and get quest reward items for dragon customizations where you can pimp out your drake. Dragon riding is very simple. When you're on a dragon that is capable, you'll have icons on the action bar that you can use, and to start with, you'll either be able to spear forward or fly upwards, depending if you've got vigor. You can fall from great heights on your drake. You can just run off the edge of a cliff and use the motion to build up speed and then soar along doing that as well. Honestly, it's a really simple feature that has a huge impact on how you play the zone and your enjoyment in the zone, and it is really good. You can also double jump, which uses vigor, which will propel you upwards to a great height to take off or to get onto other objects. And in later builds, you'll actually be able to improve your vigor regeneration speed and your max amount of vigor. Another really cool feature with dragon riding is the time trials. Now, I don't know if this is present in the other zones. We only had access to the one, but throughout the span, if you go and talk to members of the Bronze Dragonflight, you can select to partake in a time trial course or an advanced time trial course. And again, it's really cool. Now, Dragonflight is a real feature that Blizzard has been trying to sell, and I think it's fair to say I don't think it's really been picked up as solidly as they would have hoped for. As I mentioned, it definitely wasn't something I thought as a key feature, and I kind of just brushed it off as a side as just something else that will be there. But it is really nice to get around quickly in the zones, especially because you have it straight off the bat as well. The zones are built with this feature in mind, and I think the biggest issue that Blizzard will face around dragon riding is keeping players wanting to go into the zones once the leveling cycle has been completed, because it is a fantastic feature, but once people are into the dungeon and raid cycle of the expansion, the frequent venturing out into those zones diminishes greatly. So if dragon riding is a massive feature they've built this expansion around and these zones around, there has to be a way to keep you going into it. There are a few annoying points, however, I do want to bring up around dragon riding, and I'm sure these will actually probably get fixed as alpha progresses on. But at the moment, if you run in an aggro mobs on your dragon mount, you can't just hit a combat ability to dismount and go into combat with those aggroed mobs. You actually have to dismount and then press your combat abilities. I'm sure that's something that will be being looked at and fixed. Another issue that I had is there's some quest items you can interact with and some that you can't. So for the ones that you can, it's fantastic. You can go up to it on your Drake, interact with the quest item, you can get in combat and you can just drag and ride off to the next one. It's quick, it's efficient, it's fantastic. There's other ones where you'll get up to the same style of quest item and you won't be able to interact with it. So again, that's probably something they're looking to fix. But all in all, dragon riding in terms of questing and moving through the zone very quickly is a massive bonus. Another big pillar that Dragonflight has been built and sold around is the UI overhaul. So first impressions on the UI overhaul, it's a good start, but there is still a lot of work to be done, it feels like. The good things that are done or close to being done is that everything is more streamlined now, making it far easier to access, and I am a huge fan of this. The settings has a new layout now with system, accessibility, and gameplay all having their own easy access sections, and then drop downs and scroll bars within those sections to expand out the subsections on them. No complaints. Around the actual character UI elements, I wasn't able to move the cast bar or any of the extra action buttons. And again, this is at the time of playing, I'm sure that's coming. I wasn't able to remove the eagle bookends from my action bars. There were no new unit frames for the player or targets at the time of playing this. The keybind, quick keybind was fantastic. That is basically identical to the way that you would be used to if you're an LVI user. So it's great to see this implemented in-game and working. The option to save UI builds and export share them was present, and that's a fantastic thing that I love seeing in here. So there's been a lot that has been done in this space. What concerns me though is just how much more there is to still do around this UI overhaul. You'll also notice what looks like on the UI a extra bag spot, and I know there's a lot circulating at the moment that it looks like we're getting an extra bag. At the moment, from what's playing out on alpha, it's actually where reagents end up going. So it's not an extra bag slot. That could change. It may not have been working if that was the case on the day that we're testing it, but looks like it's where reagents go, not an extra bag slot. A quick look at professions. The professions tab got an overhaul as well, fitting in with this UI element that I'm talking about, and it looks great. I did not sink a lot of time into professions though, as it just sort of wasn't worth bang for my buck in what I was going for here. The new style though, it's a modernization of WoW's UI, which fits with everything else that they're doing around the UI overhaul, and I think it looks fantastic. Alright, so now to the fun part, classes and talent system. So I'm going to start with the Death Knight because that's immediately where I went. I jumped straight into the Blood DK. I was extremely keen to see how this class was going to feel in the new iteration of the talent system, and I will be honest, it wasn't bad. I didn't hate it. Now, obviously, I was only questing, so I wasn't pushing the class to any limits in dungeons or anything like that. And it's generally never nice being a Blood DK at the start of an expansion when you revert to 10% haste. But the spec did not feel horrible. I didn't have access to the full talent points. I was only level 67, but the class, it still felt fresh. It still had that hint of familiarity coming from Shadowlands. And all in all, just wasn't bad, as I said. I didn't miss as much of the baseline kit as I thought I would, but again, I was only questing. Now, I had made a video and I had mentioned before what I had hoped to see in the talent system redesign for Blood, and we didn't realistically get there. Not to the level that I was hoping anyway, but there are still some things in this tree, in this system, that are really fun on first impact. Things like Blinding Sleet, Horn of Winter, Empower Rune Weapon. These are all great additions to have as a Blood DK if you choose. It's nice carrying the base of the Shadowlands tier bonus into Dragonflight via Everlasting Bond, so a part of that playstyle that people have been used to and enjoying sort of transitions through, but isn't as hard focused. There are a lot of passives in the tree, which obviously I can't say that I really love. It's not that they're even bad passives in some cases, it's just that they don't do anything to make the spec feel more interactive and engaging, and that's really what I would like as my own preference in the spec. However, the class in the spec still does feel fun and fine to play. As I mentioned though, it was only an open world questing, so there's still a lot more to flesh out once dungeons and things like that become available. At the time of playing and testing this, Priest, DK, Druid, Hunters, Rogues, and Evokers had talent trees available for testing. And this is certainly an improvement on 2 weeks ago where we only had DK, Druid, and Priest, but there is still a long way to go and a short time to get there. Lastly, I want to finish up on probably one of the best things to come out of Dragonflight, and that is the Dracthyr and the Evoker class. Now, Blizzard, stand up. Pat yourself on the back. What an amazing job the devs have done on this race and class. To start with, we have to talk about customizations. There's a lot of them. There's like 80 million, billion, trillion Scott Steiner 33 and the third possible combinations that you can mix with here. And honestly, I was tempted for this first impressions video to just have an oh my god face and like 20 hours of Dracthyr models and cycling through the customizations. They look amazing. They look so good. There is so much that you can do with the Dracthyr, and honestly, they make every other race seem inferior now. The customizable options, from the skin to the scale colors to the shadings to the markings to the eyes, the eye colors, spikes, bones, fins, snouts, horns. You can select what kind of tail you have, what kind of thing is at the end of your tail. You can put armor, baseline armor on your Dracthyr, what it's coated in, what types, what color is that armor. You can do it all again on your human form as well. Blizzard have simply outdone themselves on the options that this race has available, and I've only given you a small snippet here to look at. I would love to see this level of detail and options extended to every race in World of Warcraft, and I can hope that's only something that continues to be expanded on soon. The evoker has two specs, Devastation and Preservation, and I played around as Devastation for a while. I had zero idea what I was doing, but I had a fantastic time in doing so. The spell details on this class is amazing. They are on another level again, and again it just forms a massive pull factor towards playing this race and spec. I can certainly see a pretty steep learning curve, I think, coming in and being able to utilize the spec to its full utility. The aiming on abilities like Landslide and Deep Breath I think will be pretty interesting in how they behave in certain dungeon environments with pathing, but we'll wait to see that one when testing becomes available. The double jump and glide on the class is cool. The racial they have is called Soar, and this is absolutely amazing. I kind of think it was the original hope that we had wanted as a player base for Demon Hunters, but this is just bulk rad. You can soar off the top of a cliff and fly. It's so rad. The only thing I gotta say that I did not love about the evoker or the Dracthyr was the running animation, but that's each to their own, and the rest I cannot fault. It's an absolute blast to play as evoker. As I said, I didn't touch Preservation, but Devastation, you're shooting laser beams, you're flying through the air. It is really cool. Really, really cool. So that is it. They are my first impressions, my first thoughts around experiencing Dragonflight. A huge thank you to Blizzard for inviting us to come and play. I loved every second of it. I have such high hopes for this expansion. I just really hope that we get it to its full potential from launch. Dragon riding is an amazing feature that you will experience straight off the bat in the zones. And again, you know, the zones that we were playing through, as you could see from the footage, was absolutely fabulous. If this is the same across the remaining 4 zones that we are yet to see, we are in for a real visual treat in Dragonflight, which I have no doubt will be the case. Classes not being pinned down by borrowed power feels really nice. And again, I was only questing through, but to know that there'll be tier sets added onto that if they go down that route, which I assume they will, and there's not going to be a whole bunch of other systems that interact, and that's just the way our characters are going to play and be, I really, really like that. I'm still obviously concerned about the remaining talent trees that we're yet to see, and then some of the feedback that is being provided around those existing trees that have come out from the community. There's probably a real need, I think, to manage expectations early on around this as well. Blizzard did state at the start that the trees was something that they could build upon, so perhaps the first iterations here are more a transfer of the current experience that we've had in Shadowlands to a newer framework from the rows to the talent trees, and then it's something that they'll build on the development side of new abilities or talents in possibly future expansions. Though that doesn't do a lot to the now factor, and I do feel that it is crucial for Blizzard to get these talent trees to a majority win right off the launch. There is obviously zero way that they are going to make everybody happy though. It's a task I certainly don't envy. There are also slight concerns I've got over the incomplete UI overhaul. And again, these might be really close to completion, and with this much time before the launch, it's not something that they're stressing over. They're nearly finished and they're going to come out live, and hopefully, you know, that's what I would like the case to be. Outside of those two issues, I just think it's getting narrower and narrower in regards to the time to gather feedback across various sources of content and then implement that feedback. You know, and this does seem like a lot of work with a closing launch date. I want to believe Blizzard is well and truly capable and up to the task though. To their credit, a lot of things appear to be very finished from a base level in the zone that I experienced. I didn't have a whole lot of quest bugs that you would generally encounter heavily in an alpha and beta cycle, so that's great. From a jump in and level experience, it was already feeling very good. So I do think, as I've mentioned, it's vital to hit the ground running with a complete UI overhaul and the talent tree system. I can't stress that enough. I think that has to be the big focus. And maybe they're well and truly up to it because the rest of the expansion is fairly well set up. We'll have to wait and see. So that is it from me. Thank you all so much for checking out the video. Let me know in the comments below how you feel about the Dragon release date after seeing this. Is your class tree out at the moment? How are you feeling about it? Are you still waiting for yours? Are you nervous about it? Are you excited about dragon riding after seeing this? Let me know it all in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks so much for checking out the video. I'll see you all next time. See you, fam.